Coolmath games for a long time has been a savior to many people who are in grade school. Many moons ago, back in my day of the early 2010s, being told that you were allowed to have free time on the computer was something that everybody loved hearing. See, the thing that was so awesome about Coolmath games is that when the great purge of Adobe Flash games happened throughout schools, Coolmath was left untouched. But this doesn't make sense because Coolmath has absolutely nothing to do with math. But if you look at it from a different perspective, are the old heads at the top of your local school division really going to ban a website called Coolmath Games? No, of course they aren't, because who are they to stop kids from pursuing mathematical greatness on their free time? So today we're going to take a little trip down memory lane and look back at Coolmath games. So the first game that we're going to be covering is Run. Now the premise of this game is relatively simple. You're a little gray ball-shaped alien thing and you're running through platforms in space. I immediately know what you're thinking. This sounds so unbelievably boring, and that's where I tell you, you're wrong. It's such a fun yet simple game that anybody with a functioning frontal lobe would be able to understand it within the first 10 seconds of opening. Now there are multiple different Run games. There's number 1, 2, and 3. Now the first Run game, honestly, it's not anything too special. It isn't bad by any means, but it's just never going to be my first choice. I know how blasphemous that may sound, but it's just so barren compared to the other options out there. But hey bro, let me tell you, Run 1 walked, so Run 2 could fucking sprint at 100 miles an hour. This game is so good, it just does everything Run 1 does, but 10 times better. The level design is so much better than the first. The music, as always, is still phenomenal, but also you get to choose between running and skating across the levels. On top of that, the levels are also just a perfect amount of difficulty, not too easy, but not too hard. Following this, we have Run 3, and this is controversial, but I think that the third one is so much better than the first. The levels are just as fun, and the music is still pretty good. If I were to rank them from best to worst, I definitely think that I would do number 1 as the worst one, number 3 in the middle, and number 2 as the best. After I got bored of playing Run, I would move on to a new game that would make my blood boil like crazy. I, of course, am talking about World's Hardest Game. This was a game that I wouldn't play often. I would try my best to steer clear of it. Not because it intimidated me or anything, but just because it was so unbelievably boring. I don't care if people think that this is genuinely one of the hardest games ever made, or if it's nearly impossible to beat. Just because a game is difficult to beat doesn't automatically make it fun. I seriously could never understand how people would find it fun moving this stupid little dot around the screen. I have more fun trying to aim my piss into the toilet bowl. As a matter of fact, doing that is harder than this game. Not only is this game incredibly boring that it can put anybody with insomnia to sleep, but it's also super easy to beat. The amount of times that I could beat this game was ridiculous. I could do it with my eyes closed. I did it so many times it pretty much became a party trick of mine. Or it could have, if anybody ever invited me to parties. Call me if you need a party trick guy. You can be as angry as you want at this point. I don't care. If anything, it just proves to me why 90% of people will never survive a nuclear fallout, because humans have no common sense. No common sense that this game is trash. It's garbage. Hey, Fireboy and Watergirl. I love this game. As a wee lad myself, I would always love playing this game. Fireboy and Watergirl was just a simple, fun puzzle platformer game. It's one of the few on Coolmath, if not the only Coolmath game, that is 2 players. It doesn't have to be though, you can also play it by yourself. Personally, I preferred to play it on my own, mostly so I wasn't trailed down by somebody slow. This was one of the few games on Coolmath that actually got the gears in my head to start spinning, because you actually had to think about strategy and solving the puzzles. I'm not really sure there's anything else that I can say about Fireboy and Watergirl. It was a fun game, but eventually the levels started to get a little bit old, and after that I would usually move on to bloxorz. This is the actual world's hardest game. Not that stupid little polka dot moving across your screen. No, this was an actual game that was hard to beat, and I'm 90% sure that most of you couldn't beat it to this day. This is a game where you truly had to use use every last neuron in your brain to figure out how to play it. The premise of this game is that you need to try and use multiple different movements in order to get this big, rusty, rectangular chunk of scrap metal to strategically slide into place to move on to the next level. All the while, you're in this red hellscape purgatory. Where is this? Where is this? This is a game that you actually need to calculate about each individual movement before you make it. Because one wrong move and it will send this little chunk of metal into the void of nothingness, and then you have to restart the level over and over and over again. Remember earlier when I said Coolmath has absolutely nothing to do with math or like learning in general? I lied. This is the one game where you actually have to use your critical thinking skills. The next game we're going to be talking about isn't actually just an individual game, it's going to be a group of games. Of course we're talking about the Papa Louie series, or the Papa's Eria games. For starters, this dude Papa Louie must be absolutely breaded. With all the franchises and restaurants that he owns, this dude doesn't have to work a day in his life. There are 17 different Papa Louie games. That means that this dude is operating 17 different restaurants. All of these games are bangers, and what I seem to notice is that the more you look into it, the more odd the restaurants start to get. For starters, you have Papa's Pizzeria, Papa's Burgeria, Papa's Freezeria, Papa's Sushiria, Cheeseria, Pancakeria. This dude is single-handedly going to put out Waffle House and McDonald's out of business. Now, despite this game essentially just being a 9-to-5 simulator where you're forced to deal with customers and work, I would still have so much fun on it. How the game would work is customers would come talk to you, explain what they're ordering, and you're supposed to give them what they order. It's literally just working at McDonald's. And yet, I loved playing this game. I would play this game on my free time once I got home. Believe it or not, this game actually made me excited to work a customer service job. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows though, because there were some real life correlations, such as dickhead customers. Some of these customers were so unbelievably picky with how you cooked their food. For example, this dude. This guy is my #1 op. Every time I would see him walk into the building, sometimes I would just straight up turn the game off, because I am not in the mood to deal with whatever type of demand that this guy has. I remember I would cook this guy's food to the very second that he wanted it, and yet he still wouldn't say that it was good enough. He would tip me nothing. Like, come on, take a look at this dude. We all know that this guy is still going to eat it regardless. Customers like this would be subjected to the mayonnaise sandwich. What is the mayonnaise sandwich, you may ask? Hey, Duck Life. This is a cute little game. Too bad it sucks. You have no idea how hard I tried to actually enjoy Duck Life. I even replayed it for like an hour when making this video, and it's still so unbelievably boring. I see everybody on the internet always praising this game for how good it is and how it's one of the greatest. And you know what? I'm tired of pretending like it is, because it's not. This game is nothing special. You actually have to force yourself to enjoy it just because the duck is cute. I'm done with this. It's garbage. It's not a fun game. The true greatest Coolmath game is Snail Bob. Shout out Snail Bob. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much, and thank you for a great start to 2025. See ya. Bye.